Who's the most famous celebrity you've met? Due to a mix-up at a political event, I was there as a simple bystander. I was given a security bracelet and had a 5-minute private meeting with the Clintons. I was wearing gym clothes and it was clear it was a mix-up, so we discussed jewelry and made some jokes. 6 weeks later, a big picture of us from the Secret Service showed up at my house. Wildest experience to ever fall into. Awkward girl in Under Armour meets the Clintons. I met Santa Claus at the mall. Nice guy. Patrick Stewart. He was as gracious and kind as you imagine. Paul Simon. Back in 1990, I was driving up Route 3 from Massachusetts to New Hampshire when my toddler threw up in the back of the car. I was 20. I pulled over to clean him up and make sure he was okay. A car pulled in behind me to make sure I was okay. Simpler times, I just trusted it. He cleaned my baby up and made sure I was okay. When we were getting to leave, he saw my gas gauge on empty and gave me a $100 bill. I told one person nearly this story and they didn't believe me, so I just kept it to myself. Kirk Douglas. He was coming out of an elevator at a hotel where I was attending a convention. Shocked, I said, "Kirk Douglas." He said, "Bob, good to see you." As we passed, I was stunned but soon realized I was wearing a name badge. Sean Astin. Super nice, a bit awkward but not overly so. Paul Newman, at Watkins Glen in 1979 during the US Grand Prix. He was just hanging out in the paddock drinking beers and hanging with race fans. Charles Barkley. Him from Philly and got to be a ball boy when he was in his Sixers prime. Not met, but I nearly ran over Bill Gates once pulling out of a cinema parking lot. Kiefer Sutherland in a bar about 15 years ago. Absolutely the nicest dude. I apologized for bothering him, said I was a big fan and just wanted to say thanks and shake his hand. Instead, he gave me the biggest, warmest hug and thanked me back. Then I ran away. John Goodman was an usher at a friend and business partner's wedding. He escorted my wife down the aisle. He had the Flintstones haircut going on. Brendan Fraser. Met him for the first time about 2 years ago. He would come into my restaurant once in a while. First time I met him, he was wearing sunglasses, but I recognized him right away. I think he could tell by my reaction. Very kind person and started up conversation with me, which wasn't necessary but still very thoughtful. John Lennon. June 1980, Hamilton Gardens, Bermuda. Neil Armstrong. I had lunch with him when I was 10. Held the door for Daniel Day-Lewis as he walked into a restaurant in the town he calls home in Wicklow, Ireland. Danny Trejo. Was in Texas for a convention and ran into him on the streets. Got to take a picture with him and he was the sweetest person ever. A bit of a tie between Adam Sandler, Emma Watson and Hugh Jackman. All incredibly sweet, personable, awesome people. One time I was walking past Stephen Hawking with family and nudging them and nodding my head so they would see him while his attendants helped him get into a car. But then my aunt looked at me in disgust because she thought I was pointing out a random person in a wheelchair because I wanted to make fun of them. Pretty funny that they think I'm the kind of asshole that points at people in wheelchairs. Met Leslie Nielsen right around the time Airplane came out. Nicest guy. My brothers and I stepped out of an elevator in Las Vegas and ran right into Gordon Ramsay. He was so nice and even paused for a photo op.